Thank you, Eddie.
Hi, Lucy.
Hello, Fran. I don't want to hear your children. I don't want to hear the background. We have a lengthy agenda this evening, and I like to run it quickly because I have to get back to work. So, again, please mute yourselves unless you call. If you do not know how to use the hand function, try your best to wave your hand. And if you do not know how to use the hand function, please try to raise your hand as best as you can. And if I don't see you, the staff will help you unmute, okay? So I'm gonna change the agenda. We're gonna have EDC go first because they met with Eddie and I at 3:30 today. And in light of the news that they presented to us, I felt it was best for them to present first. So I apologize to the two others that were on the agenda. Again, if you don't mute yourselves, then we're just gonna have to remove you. Staff, please mute people. Thank you. Okay, so we're recording, Eddie? Eddie?
Yes, we are recording right now.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Community Board 13's October 26th full board meeting. I'd like you to know that we have locked the chat function. Anything that you place in the chat goes directly to the host. And if we feel that it is something that we should disclose to the panel, we will. But if you're adamant on it, please raise your hand and I will let you speak. I think I don't need to say that anything that's in the chat because it's going directly to us, but the chat function can be foiled. So, and I can't remember right now what else I have to say, but hopefully everyone gets it. So with that being said, EDC is going to make a presentation regarding the Coney Island Ferry. Eddie, give them the share function.
Oh, they got the control of the
Okay.
central one. So it's all yours, EDC.
Oh, sorry, we good, Tara? Okay. My name is Mikkel Adgate, and I lead the Government Community Relations team here at EDC. And tonight we are joining you to present takeaways from our recently completed study on ferry landing options in Coney Island. Tonight I'm joined by James Wong from NYC Ferry, as well as the team from McLaren Engineering, who will provide a technical overview of the study. We'll end the presentation with next steps and have an opportunity to answer questions. So first, kicking off with an overview of NYC Ferry. NYC Ferry was first introduced in 2017 as a citywide system with the goal of improving transportation access. In 2019, we examined sites to expand the system to all 5 boroughs, really doing a deep dive on site identification and assessment, route development and evaluation. And between 2019 and 2022, we built out landings that were selected in that 2019 expansion study. Just this past summer in 2022, the comptroller released an audit calling on us to re-examine our financials, particularly on the city subsidy. And also in 2022, Mayor Adams released our NYC Ferry Forward Plan, which is really focused on making the system more equitable and financially sustainable. Now, of course, the conversations about ferry service in Coney Island actually predate NYC Ferry. The first study in Coney Island was completed in 2012, and it evaluated sort of tourist-oriented and seasonal ferry service. And you know, we understand that many have supported ferry service as a way to offer transit alternatives for the community. And so over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of dialogue with many who are on the call tonight to think critically about delivering ferry service for the community. That 2019 ferry expansion study that I referenced earlier did consider beachside service, but flagged it as infeasible due to ocean swells and strong southeast winds. And that really led us to where we ended up with moving forward on a Coney Island Creek landing. I understand that there are a lot of different community concerns with that landing, particularly with dredging. And I think many are familiar with the challenges that we faced during construction and the fact that we paused construction. Late 2021, early 2022, we promised the community that we would take a step back and do a deep dive with what we're presenting tonight, which is our 2022 Coney Island Ferry Study, which is really the most comprehensive and complete look to date at ferry landing options. That's what we'll be discussing tonight. I will share that tonight we will be sending out the 2012 study, the 2022 study that we're presenting on, as well as the presentation that we're delivering this evening. So the board will have that to review as well. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, James Wong, to kick off talking about the study.
Great, thanks, Mikkel. So to get started, and good evening, everyone. Thanks, of course, for having us. I wanted to just recap some of the issues that are in the existing site. I think it's important just to make sure everyone's on the same page because with the landing that is constructed currently in the park and off of the fishing pier, as we were completing a lot of the in-water work, we realized that certain things had happened and conditions had changed within the creek, which we needed to be really cognizant of. First of all, we do know that people are on the sand and in the beach and on the beach and in the water at different times. What has happened, however, between when we initially designed this and what we determined late last year and in the early part of this year is that where we once had a navigation channel that was about 100 feet wide at the full depth that we needed for our vessels, the sand had moved considerably and the channel had been reduced to only 65 feet wide. That means that instead of having 100 feet of navigable waterway and distance between that and the sand to keep people far from where the vessels are actually moving, it has shrunk a lot. And that was one of the major things that we saw. Having that channel narrow and the fact that sand continues to move in was one of the things that really made us say that we needed to take a moment to understand what we needed to do in order to make service here, to contemplate service here. So, that was the big change that we saw at the end of last year. And it's really what sparked the study in conjunction, of course, with the conversations that we've had in over the last couple of months and years. In terms of the actual study, we've talked about two things and we're sharing a third tonight because we wanted to make sure that we were doing as much of a complete job as we could. So first, the first option that we're going to talk about tonight, and we have our engineers who are going to really go through this. The first option is really to understand what the dredging requirements would be if we were to keep the landing in its current place. So that version, which the engineers will discuss, basically says, how much do you need to dredge in addition to all of the dredging that was done previously in order to allow for safe service in this location? We've also talked about in the past the idea of allowing for beach side service and understanding what would go into making that work. We've talked in the past sort of in broad brushstrokes about the challenges of being on the beach side, including the wind, the waves, and the concerns over there. But we thought that it was important to allow our engineers space to do this work independently and do a full assessment on what it would take in order to, if we wanted to figure out what would be needed for service on the beach side. Knowing in advance that these are both really, challenging alternatives given where they were, we went ahead and added an additional option, which is listed, and I'm sorry, it's out of order. Here's option number 2, which is what we've called the north side or west of the sand spit option. So what we did was, because we want to make sure that we're looking for alternatives and any opportunity that we can have to deliver ferry service, we looked at the option that was once in the EIS, but is now more fleshed out to understand what would be required if we were to deliver ferry service on the north side of the creek. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over, having set up the study that we were asking our engineering team to do. I'm going to turn it over to Todd and Vicky from the McLaren Engineering Group, who have been doing a lot of work in the past on all of this and can walk us through each of these three options.
My name is Vicky Christini. I work for McLaren Engineering. We designed all the recent ferry landings on the NYC ferry system and the ferry landings for the New York waterways on the Hudson River. McLaren has been working in the New York City harbor for the past 40 years, designing structures for this local environment. We conducted this study of the various options at Coney Island Creek for EDC. I'm a structural engineer, and so I looked at it from the structural constraints. Todd Manson is going to speak next, also with McLaren, and he's a coastal engineer. So we looked at this together from the aspects of structural and coastal considerations. So the goal of our study was to evaluate the three options, all with the same criteria. We looked at safety for the vessels, the passengers, and the park users. We looked at accessibility, trying to make sure there was proper slope so that people could easily get on and off of the ferry landings. We considered reliability. We wanted to make sure that these landings would be open 95% of the time, which means that they would only be down for 18 days per year due to weather constraints. We looked at maintenance at all of these locations, trying to plan ahead for what type of dredging maintenance they might need, what type of storm-related work such as like removing gangways, might be required at each of these locations, so we'd understand the future maintenance implications of them. And with these considerations and of how and what needed to be built, we then looked at the cost for each of these landings. We also considered the permitting for each and what various agencies require and what constraints that we need to work within. So those are the items that we were working within and looking at for each location. Next slide, thank you. So we had three options, and we're looking at dredging at the existing landing. So removing the sand that had deposited in the area so that the vessels can get in. We looked at the north side creek. Sometimes we also call it west of the sand spit. We were just thinking it from a different perspective, so sometimes we use both labels on it. And then we also looked at the beach side off of the steeplechase pier. Next slide, please. Okay. So to understand these, we had several different methods that we were looking at. We were looking at wind and wave. So the wave threshold, Hornblower, who drives the vessels, they're the captains on the ships, they noted that like wave heights of 2 feet at the landings would shut down the service. That is what they've noticed at the other landings, and when it gets to be more than 2 feet high waves, that is just, it's not safe for people to be getting on and off. For the wind, to try to understand what wind considerations cause outages at the landings, we looked at ferry downtime logs, and EDC and Hornblower have been keeping logs of when the ferry landings are closed because of wind, or just when they're closed in general. And we focused on the Bay Ridge landing and the Rockaway landing because these are the two landings that are most exposed to the weather and they experience the most outages. So we wanted to see when those had been closed. And then we took the dates of when those were closed and we looked at wind speed logs, and the nearest wind speed location that collects data for it is at the JFK airport. And at that location, they collect the dates, the times, the wind direction, wind speeds. They have data since 1985. And it's just the nearest location with all of this deep historical data that we could pinpoint and like correlate with the Rockaway and Bay Ridge landings. So of the 3 location studies, the location inside the cove is the most protected from the wind and wave. The pier location to the west of the sand spit has moderate wind and wave energy, and then the steeplechase pier has the highest wind and wave energy, a lot of impacts on it from the big waves and bigger wind.
All right, thanks, Vicky. My name's Todd Manson. I'm a professional engineer, and as Vicky said, I focus mostly on coastal. I lead our coastal department here at McLaren Engineering. So I want to talk you through a little bit more of the technical details for what we've just highlighted so far. And we're going to start with the dredging at the existing landing. And really what we're looking here, if you can focus in on the image to the right, is that area that's in the hatched orange is kind of the footprint area that we would need to maintain at a safe width and a safe depth in order for the ferries to transit in and out of there. And there's a few different things that we looked at in order to really determine what that safe width and safe depth would be. Number one, as James had started off, that we need enough room between that sand spit and the north side shore in order for the ferries to actually be able to come in and out, and there's enough width so that they're not conflicting with any other boat traffic or anything else coming in and out of there. So off the top, we determined that 100 feet is a safe width for that to be able to be transited. Then what we look at is how deep the water is there. And this was in a lot of consultation with the operators. And really what we're looking at is about 10 feet at low tide is what we need to get at in order to safely operate the vessels. We also need to consider the recreation of the actual shoreline itself. And we want to make sure that, the edge of the channel where these boats are going by, it isn't in very close proximity to anyone who might be out there on the beach or in the water itself. So we want to make sure that at least the edge of where that operational limit is for the boats is at least 100 feet away from a depth of about 6 feet at low tide. So anyone who's really out there is assumed to be around that area, and that would be 100 feet off from where the boats would even be operating. So we get a total width there of about 185 feet. Now, when we start to consider how sand is accumulating in the area, we went back and we looked at a bunch of data from surveys, from aerial images, and we were able to do a rough check to say that the beach is kind of accumulating outwards from the shore at the sand spit of around 6 feet a year. And so what that means is we want to be able to do this once and not all that often afterwards. So that 10 feet is also built into this option, and that's kind of that yellow crosshatch box that you can see there, where we kind of do this in advance of a maintenance type of a dredging event so that we can go for another 10 years without having to do that kind of maintenance dredging event. So what we end up with is dredging the area that you see highlighted there. The total volume is about 45,000 cubic yards. And that's about 4 times the maintenance dredge volume that's been previously discussed with this project. So you can kind of get an idea of where that would be. There could potentially be some habitat impacts associated with that. We know that there are some critical habitats along the shoreline there. But in all, the cost for this option was approximately $35 to $40 million. So we can move to the next location now. And so this was the north side location. And really what we tried to look at in this location, or what we did look at in this location, is a spot where we didn't have to deal with the dredging issue. And so what this looks to do is have a pier that comes out from about 33rd Street and Bayview Avenue. And that would be the access route to a ferry landing that would be located in the creek on the other side of the sand spit. So the water depth here is good enough that we wouldn't need to do dredging on any type of a regular basis. There is, as Vicky had said, some additional exposure to wind and waves here. And as Vicky had said, kind of the operating thresholds were determined by the operators of that 2-foot wave, and also the wind speed that sometimes leads to closures. And that's, as Vicky said, we kind of correlate when the ferries are down with what the wind speed is at the airport. And we were able to determine what that wind speed is, and then determine how many times that wind speed would occur at the location. And so for the combination of both of those, this location we were able to project that it would be on average open, 95% of the year. So we felt that that was a good spot for this. But one thing that we did note here is that the approach pier to the ferry landing would be pretty long. And what you see on there is about 2 football fields in length that would be required for someone to walk to access the ferry landing. There is a little bit of a permit challenge with this, with the Federal Navigation Channel, which would require some additional discussions with the agencies, and the cost for this would be about $25 to $30 million. So the last location that we examined was actually a landing coming off of Steeplechase Pier. And the good thing about this side is that we have sufficient water depth in this location. So at the end of Steeplechase Pier, you can kind of see that it goes down to about 20 feet or so at low tide. So we really have decent water depth for that operational consideration. Wouldn't really have any dredging issues at this location, but it does have very high exposure, and it has high exposure really from 2 main drivers. One is what we call swell waves, and what those are waves that are generated from the ocean that actually come and propagate to shore and interact with the coastline and anything in between. The second thing that we look at is actually waves that are generated by the wind, and those kind of come from Raritan Bay and push their way across and come from that direction, that southeast direction. And we need to look at both of those really because both of those contribute to the waves that occur at this location. And what we saw was, from the swell perspective, the offshore wave perspective, there's a wave buoy that's been operational for about 15 years off the coast that we're able to actually get the data from, and we're actually able to project using numerical models the waves that propagate in towards the shoreline and how high those waves would be. And with that information, we were able to determine that on average for that operational threshold, about a 4-foot wave would be experienced at the location. And that's obviously higher than what our ferry operators told us was a safe operational condition. So from that, we made the determination that we need to do something in order to protect the landing from this high exposure wave environment. And we do that through what we call a breakwater or a wave screen. And what that is, if you see the image on the right at the very bottom, you can see a line in gray along with a kind of a pill-shaped circle on it. It's basically a structure that will break all of the waves, and the wave energy will get dissipated around the ends and kind of create a nice sheltered spot behind where that breakwater would be located. So with those kind of parameters, we were looking at how to make this a reliable operational site from both the offshore waves, the wind generated waves from Raritan Bay, but then we also need to consider how robust is this system should we get another big storm. So we also looked at what the 1% annual chance would be, the 100-year waves associated with this, and made sure that any kind of structures that we would think about having located here would be able to withstand that very exposed environment. So we were able to make that determination based on very similar methods of what I had just said. And we were able to compare that to what was done in the 2012 study. They looked at this at a very high level and independently. We were not given the study beforehand. We were given the study after we had completed ours, and were able to make the comparison that we arrived at different methodologies to approximately the same wave climate for this area. And we also compared that to the FEMA studies in the area. And what resulted was a ferry landing in this location that would need to account for berthing from several different directions, not just the typical one side of the landing barge, but also it would need to be about 4 times the size of a typical New York City ferry landing barge. There are 2 different types of breakwaters that we looked at. So you see a range of costs on your screen from 85 to 95 million for a pile supported breakwater and 2 to 250 for a rubble mound breakwater. So you can see here a little bit of examples of what that looks like. The pile supported one is the example on screen is at FDNY Marine 9 station in Staten Island. So what this is steel piles are driven down into the bottom, and a steel corrugated sheet pile wall is actually attached to the face of those in order to provide that wave break for those. This is generally a lower upfront cost, but a higher maintenance type of a structure versus a rubble mound structure, which is basically some large rocks. This is a higher upfront cost structure, but much lower of a maintenance type structure. The closest example is actually right by Coney Island at Plum Beach. There's a rubble mound breakwater that you can kind of see going parallel to the shore there. This would be located farther offshore so that it wouldn't do any of the beach building effects of that one.
Great. Great. So, sorry. Thanks, Todd, and thanks, Vicky. So turning our attention back to taking a look at all 3 things. And just so folks know, we have maybe 4 slides left, maybe 5, and then we'll certainly break to have a discussion here. Just to go back through and summarize. So for the dredging at the existing landing, our engineering team is talking to us about 45,000 cubic yards of dredging, which we have definitely heard and understand the challenges that come with that. So in order to leave the landing in place, that we would be talking about a pretty significant cost and a real challenge through both permitting and working with everyone here who cares a lot about what's going on in the creek to make sure that we can get the safe navigable space that we would need. I'd also add that one of the concerns we have, certainly having seen what happened in 1 year where 35 feet of sand had built up in years when we normally expected 6, is that this doesn't necessarily guarantee that we don't have to come back and do more maintenance dredging. So that's one of the things that we're thinking about as we look at option 1. In terms of the North Side Creek, the option of building up here, we're really sensitive to the practicality of such a design. Having, as a concept, walking 2 football fields out into the water because you have to walk on a pier that goes that far out to clear and get into the depth of water that we need. That's really a challenging pier to ask people to navigate on a regular basis. Sure, in the summer that's nice, but a lot of times there's a lot of wind and weather and characteristics that make this a really challenging and not really practical option to deliver. So when we look at that, we also keep in mind that in addition to the cost, which continues to be high, we also see that this is something that would drop off on 33rd Street, which, having been in many of these conversations in the past, we're really sensitive to what that means. What does that mean in terms of looking at a landing that could be dropping off instead of in a park, but rather on people's doorsteps, right at the base, whether it's on NYCHA housing or on the other developments that are right there. So, we're really sensitive to that and keeping that in mind. On the beach side, I think one of the most important things that we've come away with here is that Yes, information on the foundational items of the 2012 study remain consistent with how we've looked at it. And we've always known that there's sort of, this need for breakwater. What we've learned in this study is really a little bit more detail about the size, the scale, and some of the design options that are really considered as part of that. These come with really tremendously high price tags. And actually, to look at costs, if we could go to the next slide, just to put things into context for everyone, because we want to make sure people sort of know what these numbers mean. The average cost of a new landing, based on the estimates we have going back to all of the new NYC ferry landings, in general, the average cost has been about $7 million per landing. That is, sure, there are some more and some less, but on average, we're talking about $7 million. What we've shown here is the midpoint of all of these estimates. And you can see that dredging in the creek is 37.5 as the midpoint, basically 28 million for the north side pier. And that the ocean side or the beach side option here is several orders of magnitude higher. So we're not talking about, this is a little bit more of an expensive landing. In all three of these situations, we're seeing costs that are dramatically higher by sometimes several orders of magnitude than what we would normally spend on an NYC ferry landing. So tonight, one of the big things that we wanted to share with everyone in terms of decisions and where we are moving forward is that tonight we are sharing that there will be no more dredging in the creek. We have heard a lot of the concerns that the community has shared over time with dredging that's happened both in the past and the prospect of doing more. And knowing that the disturbances in the water when we were previously talking about dredging maybe 2 feet down, that's really in stark contrast to the need that we would have to do here in order to make it safe, which is going down as much as 10 or 13 feet in some places. The high cost of this also is not guaranteeing that we wouldn't have to come back for it. And that's something we're really careful about here. Without dredging, we can't make this a safe landing to navigate in and to manage the people who are using this area recreationally. And so because of that, we are going to begin removal of the ferry landing from its current location this winter. So starting this winter, we're going to be removing the barge and the gangway, and we'll come back later in the later part of next year to remove the rest of the infrastructure. Our ultimate goal is to make sure that we have fully restored the pier, which for anyone who's been out there, hopefully you've seen, like, the pier itself is structurally in much better shape than it used to be. It has new lighting that is functional on the pier itself, including some new paving in the upland area as well. All of those improvements we would be leaving and making sure that the railing is restored and that this pier is returned to the community better than when we found it. So that's the big news as it relates to the creek side and the existing location. In terms of next steps, at this juncture, we do not have a current path forward for either of the two options that we've analyzed. The beachside options remain infeasible given the scale of the investment needed. The order of magnitude cost of whether it's 85, 95, or $250 million is in stark contrast to the $7 million average cost that we've had at many of our other landings. On the north side of the creek, well, as I had shared earlier, this is really just not a super practical alternative given the length of the pier, the cost of it, the likely permitting challenges given that it's in a federal navigation channel. And of course, what I mentioned earlier, which is that we've had a lot of discussions with the community in the past and know that being close to people's houses and being on people's fronts or doorsteps really comes with its own series of challenges. I know that's a lot of information. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Mikkel, to wrap us up here, and then we can break for questions.
Thank you, James, and thank you, McLaren team. As I mentioned earlier, we will be sharing the 2012 and the 2022 reports. Those should be in your inbox now, looking at Tara to confirm. And so we really hope that folks will take an opportunity to dig into the details that we shared this evening. One thing we want to be clear on is that we are happy to continue to meet with stakeholders in the coming weeks as more questions arise over the details of the study. And the community board will be notified before any work takes place to demobilize the landing. You know, as James said, while we don't see a current path forward for like a financially responsible way to deliver ferry service to Coney Island, we still know how important it is to many members of the community. And so we want to continue the dialogue until we can align together on costs and opportunities in the future. So with that, Lucy, we'll turn it back to you, and you tell us how much time we have left for questions.
Absolutely. So let's stop sharing. Eddie, can you help me out here? Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, EDC, for that detailed presentation. We really, truly appreciate that. Before I go to anyone on this panel, I would like to call on our Assemblywoman, Mattel Fuentes. And I want to also publicly say thank you to the Assemblywoman for making sure that other locations were looked at, regardless other locations were considered regardless the reason. So I want to thank you publicly for that. So is she still with us? Because I know she had to rush to another meeting in a few minutes.
I'm here, and thank you, Madam Chairwoman Lucy, and thank you to James Wong, Tara, and everyone else at the EDC team. I apologize profusely. I am in an office and there's some loud music playing outside, so it's not me or my staff. It's coming from the outside, but I'm going to try my best to speak over it. It's okay. So again, as the chairwoman stated, you know, we have all been on this sort of journey together, community, elected officials, EDC, the city of New York. We've spoken to everybody, the state, City Hall, etc. And we have always been saying that we want a ferry. In fact, just a few minutes ago, I was walking down the street greeting my neighbors and constituents, and a woman came up to me and she said, I want the ferry. She said, I understand everything that's going on and I agree with you, but we're still waiting, you know, which way is it going to work? So I don't know if she's here on this Zoom. I told her, be sure to sign in, be sure to log on to the meeting and to listen. But I appreciate the sort of way that the information was presented, because what I'm hearing, and obviously, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder, but I'm hearing that EDC has sort of looked carefully both at the site where this project began, really looked at the potential consequences of what long-term dredging would entail, and what that would sort of mean for the immediate environment there at the estuary. They also looked at the ocean side, and I appreciate them doing that. That's exactly what we asked them to do. We said, can you please kindly look at some other areas? Because again, we would like to have a ferry, and we said, can you just look around to see where can it be done? So with this news today, I know that we are all feeling mixed about it. Some people may be happy, some people may be sad. But I think what I'm taking away from it, as I sort of reflect on it a little later, is that this is not a closed door. I want to thank EDC for meeting with me yesterday, just as they met with CB13 today. And I asked them this one-on-one. I said, just be upfront with me. Does this mean you're done? Like you're not exploring this any further? Or is the door left open and will you continue to pursue other options? And I was assured that the door is not closed. And if that is true, then that makes me hopeful that maybe one day we'll figure this out together. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. I have a question for EDC. Once, who will be responsible for the pier after you have taken everything down?
Sure, thanks. So the removal is going to happen in a few, ultimately it will be Parks, as it always has been. It's a Parks pier itself. And what we did was capital work to restore and make it structurally sound. What it will look like in the short term is that the gate that's there is sort of a larger gate that will remain because right now we're trying to demobilize as quickly as we can to make sure that the barge and the gangway are safe, are removed. And then it takes a little longer for permitting to pull out the piles and some of the other items. And so once we are able to, we will fully restore the pier and make sure that all pieces are restored. So it basically will look just like it did, but newer and more restored when we started this project.
Okay, I thank you for answering that. I am one of the few that don't want the ferry, as everyone knows. I don't want it anywhere here, but sorry. I am a resident here over 30 years, so I don't want it anywhere. Left, right, corner, any which way you put it. Too much traffic here, in my opinion. Okay, so I'm gonna go now to the panel. I'm gonna allow people 1 minute. Please do not make this your 5 minutes of fame. If you have a question that's related to this, please. We have a lengthy agenda, go with that. If not, I appreciate you attending and we'll move forward. Craig Hammerman, 1 minute.
Thank you, Lucy. And I really want to say thank you to EDC. I think I, for one, am feeling heard and responded to. You took what we had to say and you went off and you did these studies as you promised you would. And now you're delivering results and findings for us to look at. So I just want to reiterate 2 things. One, that we get copies of the studies as we've requested in the past. And 2, that we have an opportunity to engage you further once we've had a chance to review the studies in greater detail. What I heard, I guess, was similar to the Assemblywoman, is that this is really not a closed door, and that should you get a blank check out of the sky at some point in the future, that we can reopen these conversations about when and where and how to build a ferry landing in Coney Island, which many people do believe is warranted and needed. And to that, I would ask if you've given any consideration or had any preliminary conversations with the Army Corps of Engineers, since they're promising a $52 billion investment in the harbor area to.
All right,
Craig,
Craig.
you muted.
Yeah, he is muted. Everyone, Craig, you are muted. I'm gonna allow you to speak for 30 seconds more and then we need to move on. Go ahead, Craig.
Thanks. So the question is, have you spoken to FEMA and or Army Corps of Engineers and or any other federal agencies that have large sums of money to spend and are targeting money into this area to see whether or not they can help with the costs of building on an oceanside ferry?
Thank you for the question, Craig. So first, I will confirm again that we will send out both the 2012 and the 2022 study, as well as tonight's presentation. So you'll have that. I will also confirm again that we're happy to engage in the future, particularly after you've had a chance to review those studies and have a chance to ask informed questions. I think the question about partnering with federal agencies for additional funding is a good one. Those conversations have not begun yet because we've been working to finalize the study and deliver it all to you. But I think that EDC has a good track record of partnering with state and federal entities for funding a variety of projects. That said, because of the different challenges that we've talked about, there's going to continue to be tremendous coordination. Todd mentioned conversations with FEMA and Army Corps as the study was being developed. And so, as we think about the future, again, as you said, we don't see this as a closed door. We see this as, really taking an opportunity to look at financially responsible paths forward. And as those conversations continue, we hope to continue that dialogue with the community. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Chris?
Yes, and I'll be quick, Lucy. I do want to thank, because I'm glad to see the word accessibility in there, because it's very important that customers who are seniors or people with disabilities are getting on and off safely at these ferries. So I do want to say thank you. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Gloria?
Okay, I'm gonna try to make this as fast as possible. I don't like the idea that the ferry is coming right around the corner from where I live. That's number one.
Let's stop you
Oh.
there. The ferry's not coming anywhere in Coney Island. It's been
Oh,
on, none of the 3 locations. That was what the presentation was about. They will, but they are not excluding coming back in the future.
Oh, okay, then I don't have nothing else to say. Thank you,
Thank you,
Lucy.
love. Wanda?
Yes, that's Wandra.
Thank you.
Gloria, I'm sorry I have to disagree with you, neighbor, but I am very disappointed that the ferry isn't coming. I'm not going to harp on that, but I want to challenge Community Board 13 to think of transportation alternatives. We are struggling back here in Coney Island. I don't know if you've seen these buses lately. They're slow. They're not coming. The express bus, we have to go through the whole entire Brooklyn, Bensonhurst, and other communities just to get back here and add, time to the trip. I was very enthusiastic about the ferry, but I will go on. I've been here 29 years, a long time, maybe not as long as other people, but please do not give up on thinking about different ways to get everybody, transport us low cost, quickly throughout this city. And the ferry was definitely one of those things that could have, got us there. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comment. Michael Russo?
I'm a little disappointed that they're pulling the ferry. I thought it'd be great for the West End. Like the person just before me said, it is not good for that end of the community. They need a faster way to get to the city, and the ferry would have been. I'm very disappointed. They could have. I know they're pushing for the ocean side, but the bay side, the creek side, the bay side was needed. It was proposed, and because of some people, they didn't want it, and they got their way. Like I said, I'm very disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, I don't know if it's Jeff or Ida, but the hand is up.
I have 2 questions for EDC. Do your dredging costs include the cost of dredge disposal? And number 2, since the onset of this project, we've asked how much it costs for you to dispose of the dredge that you took out initially. Number of cubic yards removed and cost per cubic yard. So again, do your costs, the dredging costs that you put up here include disposal, or is that additional? And can we get the costs that you spent to dispose of the material you already dredged? Thank you.
Thanks, Ida. Nancy, are you on? Nancy is from our CM contractor. I think I saw her name earlier.
I can answer the question.
Oh, you do? Oh, hey,
Yeah,
security.
this is secure. Yeah. So the cost in the proposal includes the disposal of the materials dredged. The cost of disposal, I have to get back to you on that because the cost has changed from what we've seen in general. So that I can get back to you on.
Okay. Ida, is that good for you?
Yes, I appreciate that he's going to get back to the information, but if you haven't done any testing on the material that you're going to be dredged, how do you know what type of facility, or is that just a ballpark figure?
Sorry, just to clarify, we have not done, there was not additional testing for the most recent work that we've done. So this was really just a volume analysis to understand how much we would need to remove. And so it is a very preliminary estimate, but these are numbers that were brought to us and we evaluated with the contractors who have done work for us in the past. So I would say the 35 to 40 million that was contemplated for dredging in the creek is a very early estimate. I would not, say that is permanent, but that is definitely the ballpark of what was included for the volume that we were discussing.
Okay, volume including disposal.
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm wrapping this up. I apologize for everyone that it took a long time, but we needed to get this information out. Thank you, EDC. We appreciate everything you do. Thank you for taking care of the safety of the constituents. That's one of the main factors here as well. We do understand transportation is needed, but safety is the priority. We're looking to work with you guys in the future on this project and future projects. So thank you very much and have a great evening.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Community Board 13, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Again, I apologize for the length of that topic, but it is a very important topic in this community. Our next presenter will be Parks Department. Parks, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Hi, Iris.
Hi. Hi, how are you, Madam
Good.
Chair? You run a
Good.
tight ship, I see. You run a tight ship with your meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I just wanted to be able to open up. I'm Iris Rodriguez Rosa. I'm actually the first deputy commissioner in New York City Parks. I have 36 years in the Parks Department and a former commissioner up in the Bronx. But more importantly than that, I was a former district manager, community board district manager in Brooklyn. So I know all too well the value of the community boards and what they offer to the city agencies. So I am very proud of I see that there's so many individuals that are participating in your meeting. That doesn't happen all too often. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to share. I understand that our concessions revenue division made a presentation to the Parks Committee last week, and that Community Board 13 asked us to be able to sort of present to the full board the request for proposals. So on that note, what I'd like to do, and then we'll talk about, I know that there were concerns that were raised as part of the committee, as part of the report, and I'd like to be able to also address them to you after the presentation. So I will let Mr. Hahn sort of give the presentation again to the full board. We'll be very short to the point, because I know I want to spend the time actually addressing the concerns that were brought up. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Go ahead, Han. Eddie Giff.
Yes, he's
down the
co-host.
controls.
He's co-host. And can-
Thanks. Thank you, Commissioner. Just wanted to recap from our last meeting. So last week, Parks attended the Parks Committee meeting regarding our prospective RFP for 4 mobile food cart vending locations on the Coney Island Boardwalk. The locations that we're considering are West 32nd Street, West 19th Street, West 8th Street, and Brighton 15th Street on the boardwalk. Now, these are locations that were previously part of the permit that Parks had with the Alliance for Coney Island. However, those concessions ceased to operate after 2019 and upon the start of the pandemic. And so, Parks has a long history of providing concessions on the Coney Island Boardwalk. However, we have not had any concessions on the boardwalk since prior to the pandemic. We're interested in providing options for locals and the millions of visitors to Coney Island along the boardwalk at these locations. We're also interested in pursuing other non-food beach-related merchandise opportunities as well in the future. And we're committed to reaching out to local businesses so they have an opportunity to respond to our RFPs and our RFPs. So, that's it in a nutshell, but happy to, answer any other questions.
All right. So what I'd like to do is to please, I understand that there was the major point of contention was pretty much the illegal vending that's been going on the boardwalk. Am I correct on that, Madam Chair?
That was part of it.
Okay. Let me try to address one at a time, so that way you'll help me, you'll guide me.
Okay, so what I would like, Commissioner, for you to listen to the constituents and the board members, and then you can chime in on what your response would be, if that's okay with you.
That's okay. Yes, absolutely.
So Yelena, and then I'll have Barbara Tidenbaum talk, so she can give you a background of what happened, and then maybe we'll change the agenda.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me opportunity to speak. I was a part of meeting that took place 6 years ago. and actually it had food and non-food items, and it had different locations. Did not go through for various reasons. I believe everyone understands concerns we have, but something else add up to concerns we had 6 years ago. We are talking about, let me repeat what I said during committee meeting. If you look at RFP, you'll see processing and non-processing food. And we were told during the meeting that even coffee making, little coffee making cart, it's processing. But in the same time, gyra, shish kebab carts are processing as well. And it's not only difference in operation, it's a big difference in weight. Also, boardwalk condition itself, you cannot even compare with 5 years ago. I promised to take pictures of West 32nd Street. I did not, but we have people who are part of this community board 13, as well as guests. They know perfectly in what kind of condition we have our boardwalk right now. So I had conversation with someone from mayor's office on Monday. We did discuss, I discussed my concerns. We also spoke about engaging small businesses in case it will go through, because we were told during the meeting it's going to be great opportunity for local businesses to have satellite location. So I asked then, I'm asking now, how come no one from the local businesses located on Brighton and Coney Island are aware of this RFP? And yes, Commissioner, you're absolutely right. It's an issue with illegal vendors. And I do know that few operations took place, not only on Boardwalk in Coney Island, but on Brighton Beach Avenue, which I also represent. But in my opinion, don't get me wrong, I would love to give opportunities for people to start their own businesses. I work with businesses for 20 years. But what I would say right now, it's time for us, Park Department, NYPD, Community Board, and other city agencies to get together now, not in April, to find out what can be done with dealing with illegal vendors first, clean the area, and after, in my opinion, we can talk. And I would be the one, I promise, somebody I spoke to from City Hall, I'm promising now in front of all community board members and guests and speakers, if we decide community, not only city or any kind of department from the city, if we decide it's a good opportunity for us, I promise to reach out to local businesses and give them such opportunity as an option. But now I believe let's deal with all problems we have, from boardwalk condition to illegal vendors, and we will talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elena. Commissioner, do you want to respond?
No, absolutely, absolutely. Elena, thank you so very much. And yes, I agree with everything that you're saying in terms of being able to have an opportunity to deal with the situation now. These are the winter months. We should not wait. We should not wait until April to try to come up with a way to be able to deal with the situations that are happening in the boardwalk. So on that note, I can tell you that I'll give you my word that I will work with the other deputy commissioner that also has the park enforcement aspect of it. But I would like to be able to engage you, the borough commissioner, Marty Marr, of course, and we have Larry Majors that's on the call here as well. And I will definitely instruct everyone so that we can work on this situation now and not wait until further on that note. So that I give you my word on that as the first deputy commissioner. That's one. Two, you mentioned something about the weight. There's a local law that we can share with you. There's a local law that indicates that the maximum weight allowed on a boardwalk is, I believe, is 2,400 pounds. I believe is the weight. I don't think that any cart is going to weigh anywhere near 2,400 pounds. I will share that with the community board in terms of that particular local law. so that way at least you're aware of what the weight restriction is on boardwalk. So I just wanted to be able to share that with you. When we're talking about being able to have the businesses, we definitely count on you, on the community board, to be able to give us any and all information on the businesses that we should send this request for proposal to. We would like to be able to send the request for proposals out in the winter months, so that way it could be ready to be rolled out come April. So we look forward to being able to have any and all information to be able to share with you as to who are the individuals that we could directly be able to send the package, the RFP package to as well. And I wanted to just indicate to you that when we talk about, the Coney Island is very near and dear to me. That was the place that I went to as a child. So I'm very committed to trying to do. I am the first deputy commissioner, and this is my role. I just started this year, and I'm just learning about everything. I've been to Coney Island a few times to look at what's happening over there, but I've been dealing primarily with the lifeguard situation. So my apologies that I have not been able to focus on some of the other concerns, but the community board's concerns are my concern. So I want to be able to engage with you on that, to do that. So I like to think that I've covered some of the items that you've mentioned. Tell me if I've missed anything.
I think
No, I
you did.
appreciate it. Thank you very much. I
Thank
mean,
you.
thank you.
Yelena, thank you. Okay,
And I
so
just,
we're gonna.
Madam Chair, just one last thing. I'm old enough to remember what we like to do is, I call it the weed and seed. We like to be able to seed, positive activity going on in locations where we know that they're necessary to be weeding out the negative. So we like to be able to give an opportunity for legal vendors to be able to do business and be able, because otherwise, if we don't put legal vendors, then what we're doing is turning it over to the illegal vendors. So I just wanted to be able to share that with you, but you've got a commitment from me.
Okay, I smile because, and no disrespect to you, I'm a hands-on person. And if you really want to see what's up there, come down in June and July. Come down, hold my hand, I'll skip through there, but we won't be able to skip. I can guarantee you, we won't, because it is just a madhouse. Well, I'll leave my speech to the end. So I'm gonna go with Barbara Tidenbaum, the chair of the Parks Committee, one of the co-chairs of the Parks Committee. Let her chime in, and then you'll hear me. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. At the meeting, there were many concerns, but one concern was, they said they had extra people, Pep, but the people were watchers. They weren't, all they had to do was tell somebody, find somebody that could stop this illegal vending going on. That those people, even though they watch, they cannot do anything. And people at the meeting found that really very uncomfortable. If you're hiring new people for the summer, we want them to be able to take action. We don't have enough people out there. They said themselves they don't have enough people out there to stop what's going on. One of the other questions we asked, of course, was about the weight limit of the carts, because we're always concerned about that on the boardwalk. We also wanted to know West 8th Street about the aquarium. We want to know, did you contact them? Because from the aquarium, you could buy things to eat on the boardwalk. And we wanted someone to contact them to see if this is an area it would not be good to have a vendor. So did you guys do that for us?
I'd like to chime in there. So, as we said before, we're committed to reaching out to the local businesses once an RFP is available. And we would certainly include the aquarium and their particular food vendor as part of that outreach. But since we have not issued the RFP or,
So you have not done it, we asked to do it already. You have not done it, because we asked you to bring that information back to our meeting.
I will contact, I have a contact, Miss Daisy Rodriguez, which is the wildlife conservation, because the aquarium is connected to the zoological, the wildlife conservation. So I will give you my word that I will do that. So then if we have to remove that location from the RFP, then that's something that we'll take into consideration.
Okay, thank you. Also, we wanted to know, they said, how do we contact you? We see things all the time, we're up there. They said, all you could do is call 311. There is no way we can contact PEP directly. So that is another issue that's been interfering with the contact. For example, Ida was telling us about on Saturday nights, excuse me, starting 10, 11 o'clock till 3 a.m., there's stuff going on that is illegal and should not be going on. And they called 311 and it's been going on week after week. So that's part of the problem, that we don't have direct access to say something's there, come now. And that's another issue that maybe you can address. Ida, you want to mention what that was, please, so she knows?
A neighbor whose apartment faces the boardwalk said there are concerts with a DJ going on almost every weekend underneath the shade pavilion near Beach Walk. And he's a very responsible person. He told me he's called 311 numerous times. He provides his name, he provides his address, he provides his phone number, and nothing gets done. And nothing got done until he called me up late one night and said, can you do me a favor? Is there anybody you can contact at NYPD or somewhere that can help with this? So if he's reporting this to 311 and giving his name and phone number in case they need to call back and saying it's an ongoing issue every weekend and giving the exact location and the date and the time, then why is it still not being addressed?
So I have to say to you ladies, that is something that is been a little bit of frustration for me as well. I'm trying to work now in my role as first deputy to try to find a way where our citizens can call and get direct results from the Parks Department rather than trying to go straight to 311. Or if they call 311, for them to call us immediately and not have to wait through the cycle of computerization to try to do that. So this is something that is of challenge to me that I want to be able to address as the first deputy commissioner, because I myself do not like that. Many of our patrons have issues on the weekends and in the evening, and we need to be able to know what's going on to be able to address it on the spot.
Okay, thank you.
That's exactly what the committee asked for, exactly what we would like. Also, there was a problem with some of the vendors who were there about dirt, excuse me, all around, and they're not cleaning up properly. And we just like you to keep an extra eye on that type of issue when you see, because it's, excuse me, it's been very prevalent.
Let me handle it. Lending library. We can put what we want in it. If you have a problem with it, you could make your own lending library.
Hello.
All right. So,
Barbara, we can come back to you when we have. We can come back.
You wanted to add something?
Yeah, we can come back to you when it's committee report. Sorry to interrupt you. So Commissioner, you're going to hear me. So Alex heard me at the meeting. Here's my pitch. And I was going to bring it up to the full board, which I am going to bring it up during the time that the committee presents. I feel that I am so tired of being here for 30 years. I'm so, well, not tired of being here for 30 years. I'm so tired of hearing empty promises, empty promises. You know, I hear, oh, let's educate the people, how to become legal people, how to become legal vendors. As I told Alex, educate people how to become legal residents here. Because most of them would prefer to have $1 in their pocket instead of paying taxes. And if you can't teach someone how to become a legal resident so they can pay taxes and go through the right paperwork, they don't give a hoot what flyer you give them. They don't care what goes on. Those vendors are up there all hours of the night. There's no way you can walk up there. There are more vendors up there than they are residents up there. You know, we can't even enjoy our boardwalk on Friday nights. We can't. We want to go up there. We want to look at the fireworks. We can't even enjoy it without smoke, without dirt, without liquor. All of that stuff is being shoved in our faces. So for me personally, and you're gonna give me how many is it? 1, 2, 3. You're gonna give me 4 legal vendors. Is 3 too many? I want none up there. Until you get to clean, until you clean up the ones that are there, then bring me the legal ones. That is my opinion. I will bring it up to the committee to write a letter saying that we would not like them there. We don't want them there. We want you guys to make a plan, stick with us, work with us, and clean up our boardwalk, please.
Okay, so I just like to be able to just, I'm sorry, to reiterate, how is it, if we don't give the option for the public to be able to attend legal vending where the legal vendors are, to be able to point to them. So if we're addressing the illegal vending issue, and we don't have something to point to the patrons to go to these legal vendors, these are the legal vendors that you should go to, then what we're doing is we're throwing up our hands and saying, okay, the illegal vendors, go run amok. Because then we don't have an alternative for you to be able to go to. So I'm just giving you my point of view on that. But I want Larry Majors is on here. Maybe
Well,
he
I
can
want
chime in.
to, Joanne, I'll call on you in a second. I see your hand. I want to add to that. I believe that Eddie, correct me if I'm wrong, you said 12 people. It was last time it was 12 and
Yes.
only one person got in, something like that?
actually used it. It was over by West 8th Street, and they were selling empanadas. And that was the only vendor that approached.
So it was
us.
one person that applied.
Yes,
And how many spots were open?
12.
End of my conversation. Joanne?
Yeah.
My point. I'm just making my point. People don't want to be legal. People want not to pay taxes. People want not to do this. Sorry, I got to rammed on, Joanne. I got to get it out. People want to make a quick buck. Educate them in not making a quick buck, and then talk to me, and maybe the others hopefully agree with me on telling people to come here and be legal and put more food carts on our boardwalk. Clean it up. As I told Larry, I'll walk with you. Please, but don't walk with me in March. Don't walk with me in February. Walk with me in June, and I'll show you what's up there. And 4 feet, 11 inches, according to me, not to my doctor. Okay. And a disgrace when I heard that only 50 tickets were given. 50 tickets throughout the entire summer. Are they insane? I can get 50 tickets in 5 minutes just by looking. I'll leave it alone because I get very emotional about this. Joanne, go ahead.
All right, I have a question, which is, it keeps coming up and it kind of like bothers me. That you keep referring to the agreement you had with the Alliance. Now, why was this agreement for vendors done with the Alliance? Okay, and that matter when we go to move vendors and the Alliance says, oh no, they're okay and they're not okay. I mean, since when does the Alliance speak for all of Coney Island? And how is that they—
And Brighton.
I'm sorry, Yelena, I apologize. And Brighton. I mean, that's ludicrous. I mean, who did that? They don't represent and speak for everybody in the area. So how come I keep hearing, well, the agreement we had with the Alliance? Can somebody answer me?
Yes, I can. I think what Yelena was referencing is that when we met 6 years ago and we issued the RFP for beach food and merchandise vendors, it was the Alliance for Coney Island who submitted a proposal through the competitive process, and they won through that process. And so the vendors that even Eddie had mentioned, and there was more than one, there was 4. These were vendors who had subcontracted with the Alliance for Coney Island to operate at those locations. So that I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, that's something.
I'm really sorry.
Okay,
but
Yelena, stop.
I can't.
Well, I'm gonna make you stop by muting you. Okay, Joanne.
My point is, nobody ever knew about that. I'm sitting on this board. I was the chair of this board for 4 years before Lucy. I never heard that.
We met with, so I think the meeting that Yelena was talking about was the actual community board meeting that we came and met with you to talk about that RFP 6 years ago.
And that the Alliance won the right to control it.
Yes.
Okay, but they had the run to control that RFP, not this one.
Well, no, not that RFP. They won that RFP, and so their term of the permit that they won expired. Right. And so now this process that we're conducting is basically seeking new responses through a competitive process, and anybody is welcome to submit a proposal in response to this. So as we mentioned, we will reach out to local businesses. We did try our best to make everybody aware of this last time, and we did meet with the community board a few times to talk about these locations, and those are the meetings that were referenced earlier.
Okay. And
on our
Alex,
call
the
in last
Alliance
week.
is not involved in this one
They're,
as of now.
well, they can't be involved until we issue the RFP.
And
But
so if
again, if
they-
they're
if they-
interested, they can submit a response to the RFP again, if they're
Okay,
interested.
so they can. Joanne, that answers your question. They
Yes.
can. So we're done. Michael Russo.
I think Dennis would answer this better than I could. Dennis, you want to go first?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Michael Russo.
I believe Dennis could answer this better than I can. Let Dennis go first.
So if you have some, if not, if he's gonna speak for you, then I'm not calling back on you. So
No,
if you
go
have
ahead,
something to
Michael.
say,
That's
say
fine.
it.
Go ahead.
That's fine.
No, but the Alliance won the bid 6 years ago, and we administrated that whole contract with the 4 individual vendors on the boardwalk, and it wound up being a losing proposition. If you want to know the truth, it was a losing proposition. There was too many illegal vendors on the boardwalk, and the way it looks like now, I wish whoever wins this RFP, I wish them luck, because if they don't get rid of the illegals, they're never going to make any money. Michael, you want to add something? Go right ahead. But the Alliance won the bid fair and square 6 years ago, and like Alexander said.
Okay,
I like
so
to,
Commissioner, give me a second.
Yes.
Michael, and then that's it, and then I'll let the commissioner talk, and then we're moving on.
No, Dennis said what I needed to say. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, we'll end it with you. Go ahead.
oh, thank you again, Madam Chair. I just would like to be able to, for us, for Parks Department, to be able to have the opportunity to work with good possible vendors. Again, the Coney Island Alliance can apply like anyone else, but this gives us an opportunity to also directly be able to reach out to the vendors or to the businesses that are in your community to give them an opportunity to vend on the boardwalk. We'd like to be able to provide the RFP, to be able to do that and directly work with the businesses. And again, I will work with the Parks Enforcement and NYPD to see if we can create a vendor patrol specifically assigned to just do vendor patrols, to be able to do that. So give us an opportunity. This is a new administration. I'm new to the position. I like to be able to ask the opportunity of Community Board 13 to be able to support us in this effort to try to seed it with positive things so we can try to weed out the negative elements going on there.
Okay, we appreciate a vendor patrol. Maybe I'll get hired for the job because I can guarantee you that I will be out there. So I have 6 more years to retire from the city, and I'll apply for the job if it fits my, my.
Lucy,
needs.
PD doesn't do vendor patrol.
She didn't say that. She said we will hire.
did.
No. I said that we would work with PD. They don't do vendor patrol, but we can do vendor patrols.
Okay.
Okay. So let me know when the opening's there. I have 6 years to retire from the city. I will not leave my pension. I've been here 39 years with the city. So I thank you very much, Commissioner, for being present, understanding my
I do.
For the boardwalk, understanding my personal, I can't speak for everyone else, my frustration, me hearing people how, and not only that, the budget that you guys give this community for our people in the boardwalk, it is disgusting. So maybe that would help. If you guys give them money, maybe they can get more people out there, So let's walk in June, July, skippity doop, but not in March.
Yeah, but let's talk before that. I don't want to wait until
Absolutely.
Let's have the conversation
Eddie
now.
Alex, if he doesn't have my number, Eddie will pass it on. We'll go from there. But I thank you again, and thank you for understanding my emotions. Okay, moving on, everyone. Sorry that I changed the agenda around, but we're gonna move on. If they're still with us, New York City Campaign Finance Board.
Amma is there? And
hello, I'm here.
yes, okay.
Thank you, ma'am. I apologize that we had to change the agenda, but go
No
ahead.
worries. No worries. Hi, everyone. Okay, please give me a second. I need to share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay. And can you hear me well?
Yep, it's good.
Okay. Okay. So thank you very much. My name is Ama Aqua. I use she, her pronouns. I am the training coordinator here at the New York Campaign Finance Board. I'm here today to speak with you all about voting and share information on the ballot proposal for the November general election. And just briefly, the Campaign Finance Board, we are a nonpartisan and independent city agency. So nonpartisan just means that we're not aligned with any political party or candidate. And independent also means that we do not report to the mayor's office. And that is because our main goal is to monitor spending in local election. And I'm here on behalf of NYC Votes, which is our initiative that aims to increase education around civic engagement here in New York City and empower communities that have historically been left out of the process with information about local elections. So before I get started, I would like to pass it on to Shamar, who is a New York City Youth Ambassador, and that is a civic leadership program for high school students. And she also lives in this community. So she'll introduce herself and share a brief speech too. So I pass it on to you. Can you come off mute?
Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is Shima Nadish. I'm an NYC Votes Youth Ambassador. I work for the Campaign Board of Finance. I'm 16 and I was basically born and raised in Brooklyn. Voting is a voice for you. You're removing your own interest and rights if you decide not to vote. You deny yourself the chance to support your neighborhood and community. One of the primary responsibilities as a citizen is to vote. There are very few chances as us, everyday ordinary citizens, get to make. Take advantage of that opportunity as soon as you see it when you can. By registering to vote, you demonstrate.
Let me stop you there. Let me stop you there, sweetheart. Let me stop you there. I appreciate your presentation, but we're not allowed to, we're here only to talk about what's on the ballot. I don't want you to talk about encouraging people to vote or how to go voting, etc. We're not allowed to speak on that. So I apologize if you were not told that in advance. Let's stick to what's on the ballot. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, well, so for this year, only 4 ballots. Emma, I'll pass it off to you. She'll go deep.
My apologies if you weren't told ahead of time.
Okay, thank you very much. And yeah, so I will move on. And what are the ballot proposals on the November 22 general election? And before I get into that, we just go over what a ballot proposal is, and it's a law, issue, or question that appears on a statewide or local ballot for voters to decide. It is also known as an initiative, measure, proposition, or referendum. And here is a sample ballot proposal on the 2022 general election voter guides, and that all registered voters will be received in the mail. And I'm assuming some of you have already gotten this. Please bear with me. Thank you. So next, so ballot proposals are yes and no questions that voters answer. They are approved if they receive a majority of the vote, and think of it as being a senator or council person for a date. And please bear with me, right?
No imagination.
Sorry about that. So this year, there's 1 statewide and 3 citywide proposals.
Come, this lady.
Excuse me again. So sorry. So three statewide, three citywide and one statewide questions, and please remember to flip over your ballot. So the statewide proposal is a clean water, clean air, and green jobs environmental bond act of 2022. And this proposal was originally proposed by Governor Cuomo in 2020. And the state legislature voted to have this issue on the ballot for voters to decide. However, the proposal was delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So Governor Hochul amended the proposal earlier this year, and the legislature again voted to place it on the ballot in November. So this basically means that the state government will allow sale of state bonds to be sold to fund environmental projects in the amount of 4.2 billion.
He's the one.
So a yes vote supports issuing the 4.2 billion in the general bonds for projects related to the environment, natural resources, water infrastructure, and climate change mitigation. And no votes means this measure does not allow any bonds to be sold. Next one, in 2021, Mayor de Blasio formed the Racial Justice Commission to identify and root out structural racism in our city. Their goal was to reduce barriers to power, access, and opportunity for Black, Indigenous, and all people of color in New York City. To achieve this, the commission proposed changes to the city charter, which determines how city functions and governs. The three citywide proposals are recommendation from the commission to amend the city charter. So proposals 2, 3, and 4 come out of the Racial Justice Commission, and they are only for New York City voters again. So proposal 2, and I'm so sorry about this, I'm just coming down with something. It's a citywide proposal that will add a statement of values to our city charter to guide city government. The charter is where the government gets its authority. So it's kind of like our local constitution. A yes vote adds this introductory statement to the New York City Charter to guide city government in fulfilling its duties, and no votes means the charter will not change at all. Next is proposal 3, which will establish a racial equity office, plan, and commission. A yes vote changes the city charter and creates a racial equity commission office and plans, and it also has regular reports of progress to the city council. And no votes means the city charter will not change. And last but not the least, proposal 4 will require the city to create a true cost of living measurements to track the actual cost of living in New York City in order to address meeting essential needs without consideration to public, private, or informal assistance such as SNAP. So a yes vote will amend the city charter and require annual reports on the true cost of living, and no vote will not change the charter. So here is the voter guide, and this is a copy, and you should have this on the mail, in the mail already if you're a registered voter, or it should be coming to you soon, or you should also can find it on our website, which I'll show you later. And the proposals start on page 8, so you can go on and read more about it too. And again, to learn more about it, please go to nycvotes.org/ballot-proposals. And again, remember to flip over your ballot when you go to vote, because that's where the proposals are. Next, I'll share a brief video. There's no sound, of just how to access the proposals on our websites. Oh, sorry. I don't know why this video is not playing. Okay, please, sorry about that, having technical issues. So resources, contact us at nycvotes.org to make sure you're registered, find your poll site, and read voter guides. Unfortunately, it's past the date to register to vote, but if you requested vote by mail or absentee ballot, you have until November 8th to turn that in. My name again is Ama Aqua. I'm the training coordinator here. This is my email address. And then this is the resources there. I'll just pause talking because again, I'm not feeling so well right now. And there are ways to get involved. And I'm almost done. We challenge you to talk to 3 people in your life about the upcoming elections. And thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. We hope you feel better. Let's stop sharing the screen. Hold on a second. Eddie, can you help me out with this? I think I got it. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for giving people details to just remind them. This was just more an FYI to remind you guys that there are proposals, that it's not all about just, you know, voting for politicians. There are proposals that we would like you people, like everyone, to look at during the voting time. So thank you very much. There will not be any questions because I don't want someone to go off on another way and talk about elections. So thank you very much. Moving on. Oh, goodness. Sorry that it's a long agenda, but it is what it is. Things happen. Election, any representatives here? Let me see who I have. Okay, so our Assemblywoman is still here, I think. Does she want to speak again? Or she left? I think she just left. Okay. Any other elected officials on team that I don't see?
We have
Henry, yes, I have you on my list. Henry, go ahead. I'll let you speak first. Go ahead from the mayor's office.
Great, thanks so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Henry Morgan. I'm with New York City Service, which is the division of the mayor's office charged with promoting volunteerism and civic engagement. I'm here today because we want to share a couple of resources that our office offers and that we'd love to publicize more in your community. So first, we have 2 funding opportunities that are coming up soon. We have a Civic Impact Fund, where we give funding to different nonprofits and community partners to help promote their volunteer engagement efforts. So we give $10,000 to up to 20 different organizations each year. And we've been doing this this will be our 4th year running. So that application, we believe, will open in the early spring. So we'd like everyone to keep an eye out for that. We also offer Love Your Block grants, which are mini grants given to neighborhood and resident-led groups to work on neighborhood beautification projects. All of those grants are about $500 and similarly will open in the early spring. And lastly, this January, we are beginning our volunteer engagement training series where we will have 3 separate sessions focusing on assessing community needs, recruiting volunteers, and then engaging those volunteers. And then following that, for 10 different organizations that attend all 3 sessions, we'll be offering a 3-month free consultation process. So registration for the training series will open in December, and we expect the application process for the consultation program to open in February. I think I got everything down. If you have any questions, I'll drop my email and phone number in the chat. Thanks so much.
Okay, the team will recirculate it since no one else in the chat can see it. Thank you very much. I'm gonna, normally it's 3 minutes per speaker, but I'm gonna only allow 2 minutes because we still have to move on. Okay, so any other elected officials team that I don't see? Okay, now I'm gonna go down my list. Ida, do you have anything to say?
Point of clarification. The ferry thing had nothing to do with whether or not anybody liked it or wanted it or didn't want it. It had to do with facts. And the facts were that EDC knew from day one that there was a big problem with accreting sand at that location. And if anybody doesn't believe me, I'll be more than happy to show it to them. Fact number 2, anybody with eyes could see that there was a sand problem there because it kept building up. Fact number 3, comments were submitted in case they were blind and didn't read their own documents. Comments were submitted pointing out the sand problems there, as well as additional problems in their chosen site. And they chose, it was their choice to ignore all this. And if anything comes out of this, it's one thing. And I think this is a wake-up call to the agencies not to ignore the institutional knowledge in their communities and not to ignore the people in their communities who can read and who can think and who actually look at these documents and find the flaws in them. And I would like to thank everybody in the community that had the guts to take pictures, to stand up, and to not let people push things down your throat when you knew they weren't even following their own documents. And a big thank you to Assemblywoman Frontis, who had the guts to not look past the emotions, look past everything else, and look at the facts and look at the science. Let's move on and let's learn. Thank you very much.
Agree on me, anyway. I'm allowed to agree. Excellent. Okay. Hassan from the VP's office, 2 minutes. Hassan, are you still with us or we lost you? Okay, I'll call on him again. Troy from Councilman Ena's office. Lost you as well. Eric, are you still with us from Councilman Kagan's office?
Yes, I'm here.
2 minutes here. Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to say good evening to everyone. And today, the councilman hosted a public hearing as chair of Waterfronts and Resiliency Committee, together with the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. A 10-year after Sandy, what the city should be doing to be better prepared. They listened to testimonies of reps from several city agencies, including DOT, DEP, NYCHA, and the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. They asked them a lot of tough questions and demanded a timeline and cost for all projects. Finally, the committee also met with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to talk about their new resiliency plan for New York City, including Coney Island. Public comments about this plan will be accepted on their website till January 6, 2023. He also spoke extensively about the need to restore Coney Island beaches, the boardwalk, and the Coney Island Creek. Just a heads up for anyone that knows someone that needs immigration help, we will have a lawyer there at 445 Neptune Avenue every Monday. If you need any legal advice for immigration or help filling out your immigration papers. And lastly, last month, our office introduced 724, which would require that 311 service, since it issues quarterly reports regarding 311 complaints or requests for service related to New York City Housing Authority, and earlier introduced the Reso 068, which calls upon New York State legislators and U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to take strong actions and increase NYCHA accountability by auditing NYCHA manager responsible.
Hey, Erica, you're muted. We're gonna let you go on for 15 more seconds and then wrap it up, please. Thank you. Please unmute yourself.
I was just saying that they just want to have 311 to be more accountable for the calls that they're taking. And for now, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. Richard from Sanitation, are you with us?
I'm here. I'm actually, my name is Sid. I'm filling in for Richard tonight.
Thank you, Sid. Go ahead.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, everyone from Brooklyn Community Board 13 for having me. My name is Sid Braham, a Community Outreach Coordinator with the New York City Department of Sanitation. And I'm here to announce that we're going to be conducting a seasonal collection for leaves and yard waste on 2 dates this year, Sunday, November 20th and Sunday, December 4th. Again, that's Sunday, November 20th and Sunday, December 4th. So instead of letting your leaves rot in a landfill where they create harmful greenhouse gases, you can instead help the Department of Sanitation make compost. When leaves and yard waste end up in a landfill, they decompose, they create methane gas, which is a greenhouse gas that's more than 20 times more potent than carbon dioxide. composting your leaves and your yard waste not only offsets these emissions, but it helps to create a nutrient-rich product, which helps rebuild our soils, enrich our gardens and green spaces. So basically, just like with recycling, composting allows these items to create a resource out of our waste. To participate, it's very easy. You just collect your leaves in paper, lawn, and leaf bags or in unlined rigid containers and set them out for collection at the curb after 4 p.m. The day before collection. So the day before Sunday, November 20th, and the day before Sunday, December 4th, separate your leaves and yard waste in paper, lawn, and leaf bags in unlined rigid containers, set them out at the curb after 4 p.m. And DSNR will collect them, process them, turn them into compost and renewable energy. If you can't make either of those dates, if you're out of town, for example, you can drop off leaves that you've collected at our community leaf drop-off sites. And I'll share links to these sites in the chat, if that's okay, Lucy, if you to circulate. I'll also put my name in the chat. Yeah.
We will circulate that. Sid, I do have a question. You said 4 p.m. When does the 8 p.m. start to dispose your trash? I think I heard something in the news. The mayor wants trash to be placed out now at 8 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. When does that go in effect?
Yeah, that's been announced recently. I don't really know when that goes into effect. I'm not sure if that will be in place before the collection dates that I've mentioned. So if you want to play it safe, I would say probably 8 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. by then. Yeah.
Okay, just asking. Okay, because we won't get the notification, but we'll get the ticket. That's for sure. Okay, moving on. Is Hassan? I'm sorry. Thank you, Sid. Is Hassan back with us, or is he with us for our president's office? No. Okay, and Troy, are you with us? Okay, moving on. That's second roll call. Christopher.
I'm here. Good evening. As I already emailed it to Lucy, Eddie, Barbara, and Hannah, just to remind everyone that yes, there was a video. Yes, Deborah Grife was on it. We are also reminding everyone from now for the next few months, if you already have a reduced fare Metro card today, that's for a senior or a person with a disability, you should be updating your information as soon as possible, because in that information will give you the choice of the app on the phone or the card in your hand. So please make sure that information has been shared and anyone can assist them. Anyone can help them out. If you already have an email address from Accessorize, you can combine it with your Omni card. Also, with all that information I put in, we have the baby stroller pilot that's actually in Community Board 13's on the B1 bus, which is running very well. We do have a new B1 bus, the 2020 version. So in case you do see a bus that you never seen before, yes, that's the electric bus. That bus will be running on the B1 at this moment, and it's part of the baby stroller pilot. That information is also linked to Eddie's report, my report that I sent out to the email. Happy Halloween, everyone, and everyone, please enjoy your evening. And if any questions, Community Board 13 knows how to find me with the bat signal. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Andrew Jones. Thank you, Chris. Andrew Jones.
You're welcome, Lucy.
Troy McDonald. Troy McDonald.
You mean Tyrone McDonald?
Tyrone, I apologize. Mr.
No
McDonald.
worries. Yes, how you doing today? My name is Tyrone McDonald. Good evening, everyone. I'm with Neighborhood Housing Services of Brooklyn. I'm a HUD-approved not-for-profit organization. I just want to share with you some upcoming events that we're having and some programs which may be of your interest. Is it possible I can share my screen? Is that okay?
If you're going to go within the 2-minute bracket.
All right, so I won't risk it then. I just want to let you know that, firstly, on November the 10th, our organization is actually having a Tenants Know Your Rights webinar where we're going to discuss repairs, heating, and also forming a tenant association. That's Thursday, November the 10th at 6 p.m. I will post the RSVP link in the chat. Lastly, we also are offering our Triple H Home Help for Heroes program which is actually a grant program for disabled veterans who live in Brooklyn, whether they're a homeowner or tenant. They can get up to $20,000 for disabled related repairs, whether it's installing a chairlift, grab bars in the bathroom, widening doors, and so forth. That's still going on if anyone's interested. And you don't necessarily have to be injured in combat, just, injuries in civilian life or just frailty due to age also applies. Our telephone number, if you're interested in any one of those programs, is 718-469-4679, but I will also put that in the chat as well as our web address. Thank you and enjoy the evening. And for anybody out there who celebrates Diwali, happy Diwali.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. NHS has helped me personally, so I thank you very much for your programs. Maybe next month we can have you present that at the beginning and give us more information on the program. So thank you very much. Mr. or Mrs. Miley? Okay, I don't see their name on the screen, so I'm going to move on. Is there anyone that signed up that I did not call, that was not given to me? Please raise your hand now. Okay, thank you very
Ken
much.
Lazar. Hello?
Go ahead. Yes, Ken, your name was not placed on the list, but go ahead, sir. Go
Good
ahead,
evening, Ken Lazar, Department of Buildings.
Yes, Ken.
I'd like to announce that on Monday, November 21st, the Brooklyn Borough Office of the Department of Buildings will be relocating to 345 Adams Street. Again, we will be no longer located at 210 Geralman. We'll be moving to 345 Adams Street on the 3rd floor. All business will be open with the exception of in-person plan examination will not occur on November 21st through November 23rd. All of the services will be available on November 21st. Again, Monday, November 21st, 345 Adams Street. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you
it.
very much, Ken. Anyone else that I did not get on my list? Okay, let's move on. Adoption of the minutes for the September 28th meeting. Joanne Weiss, and who, anyone else?
Joe Carres.
Joe
Second.
Carres. Any discussion? Kamali, there's a discussion, or you're saying you're voting, you're trying to be second, there was a second already before you. Kamali, do you have a discussion on the minutes? You're raising your hand. If it's a no, just shake your head no.
No.
Okay, thank you, dear. Okay, roll call, Lucia.
Lucy
You must
Mujica,
have,
dear.
excuse me, you must have your cameras on to vote. So, and then you can turn it back off.
Unmuted. Thank you.
All right, Lucy Mujica Diaz,
Yes.
Yeah, you're on.
Zonera Ahmed,
Yes.
Lakeisha Bowers,
Yes.
Dion Brown,
Yes.
Patricia Brown,
Yes.
perfect. Maria Caggiano,
Yes.
let's see, okay, I see. Marianne Cleaver,
Yes.
Joe Carres,
Yes.
Asad Dandia,
Yes.
Lolita Divalova,
Yes.
Susan Flashenberg,
Yes.
Olga Fort,
Yes.
Selena Grant, Selena Grant. Okay. Ronald Greenberg,
Yes.
Irum Hanif, Amaryllis Herrera. Queenie Hewling,
Yes.
Diane Isaac. Bernard Kaufman,
Yes.
Cynthia LaVille,
Yes.
Elena Mahon,
Yes.
Alan Newman,
Yes.
Pat O'Brien, Robin Wright Harrison. Boris Pincus. I'm sorry, okay. Gotcha. Boris Pincus. No,
Do you mean Gloria Watkins?
No, she didn't call you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, y'all.
Nodra, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Muhamedova.
Yes.
There you go. Milagros Willis.
Yes.
Michael Quinn.
Yes.
Sam Rankowski.
Yes.
Michael Russo.
Yes.
Jeff Sanoff.
Yes.
Fran Schwartz.
Yes.
Frank can't vote. She doesn't have a camera.
Can't
Move
tell
on.
her.
Okay. I'm just saying I'm here though.
Okay.
You're present. You're not. You just can't vote.
Tatiana Siegel.
Yes.
Pervez Siddiqui. Michael Silverman.
Yes.
Pat Singer. Pat?
I know she was having technical issues before, so maybe she left.
Okay. Evelyn Strasser.
I haven't seen her.
Jack Subin.
Yes.
Barbara Teitelbaum.
Yes.
Fania Vasilevsky. Gregory Weingrut. Edita Volodovskaya. Dennis Verderis.
Yes.
Gloria Watkins.
Yes.
Joanne Weiss.
Yes.
Annette Wesley.
Yes.
David Wynn.
Yes.
Kumali Zairi.
Yes. Yes.
And Svetlana Zelinska. Okay.
Okay, before anything else, David Wynn, can you put on your camera? Just to see if you're there. Thank you very much.
So is there any, do you want to do a second roll call for those that you missed?
Sure. Selena Grant. You know, I saw Selena. Irum Hanif. Amaryllis Herrera. Joanne Isaac.
Thank you. Sorry, I had such a hard time.
Pat O'Brien. Boris Pincus.
This is good.
Pervez Siddiqui. Pat Singer. Evelyn Strasser. Fania Vasilevsky. Gregory Weingrut. Edita Volodovskaya. Svetlana Zelenskaya.
Also, okay, no, that's fine.
That's it. Okay, you'll give us a count. Please don't forget. Guys, I'm gonna bring it up at tomorrow's meeting, but one of the reasons is to put your cameras on is because I know your voice, the rest of the members know your voice. But when these recordings get forward to anyone, we don't know, they don't know who it actually is. So, and sometimes the names have, for example, Barbara Titlebaum, she has Josh on there. No disrespect, so it's not cross-referencing. So that is one of the reasons that these cameras must be on when you vote. So I thank you for understanding, okay? District Manager Eddie, your report, and we're gonna vote on district needs, right?
Yes.
Thank
Don't you want to do
thank you.
yours first? You want to do your report?
I'm actually gonna bypass my report, because
Real quick.
it's just getting a little long.
You got it. All right.
Celine, I'm sorry, we have Selena raise her hand. So,
Is she on camera?
Sure.
yes,
Yeah,
she is.
I am.
So what is your vote, Selena?
My question is, the wording in one of the budget proposals, we had talked about at our last meeting. And
Do you want to bring it up now? Or do you want to wait for Eddie to talk about the
He can
budget?
talk about it, then I'll bring it up. I just wanted to raise my hand and let you know.
Okay, sure. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, real
Did you
quick.
wanna-
Your vote.
The vote, did you want to vote, Selena? On adaptation of minutes? I didn't get a vote from you.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So district manager's report. As you can see, you have a copy of the budget priorities and requests for the capital and expense for FY 2024. The only changes or addition that we put in this year was to put in the air quality monitoring that was requested in the environmental. As you know, we always mention about getting the air monitoring cleaned up. We put it in this year only because the state is putting out an initiative on it. So we want the city to reflect their part in this too. Also, we wanted to put in allocation for existing social service and legal organization about mental health. Of course, what happened this past summer with the mother, what do you call it, having problems with her family and having the children killed was not a good sight for anybody. But we have to address the issue. So we put that into our expense part of the budget and priority. Other than that, things were taken out that were not completed. Some things like the fire department, firehouse, where they have done in the past, what do you call it, fixing things up since Sandy. I contacted them the other day and they said that they don't need that to be on the expense part. Other than that, what we need from the board now is just to vote on the priorities that we put together over the last month. Do I have a motion to accept what was given to the board members? Oh wait, Celine first, yes. Sorry.
You can do the motion and then discussion and
Okay.
then move on.
Okay, so anyone wants to make, Joanne, okay, it's first.
1 second, stop. Michael Russo is
make a-
first in the motion, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
All right.
And Yelena.
Okay,
Okay, now is there any discussion on the motion?
sure, all right.
Selena.
Yeah,
I had a discussion on the actual item, the way it was written for the number 10, and it's for Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Our last meeting, we did talk about the fact that we wanted to adjust it where it says we need to address air quality issues in nature developments. And I kind of like asked, could it be just entire Coney Island opposed to just buildings? I mean, maybe in addition to, but not limited to.
Okay.
because there's a
well,
lot
it does say nature development and surrounding.
and
buildings.
surrounding buildings. But it's an air quality issue, period, in addition to all of those things.
Okay, I mean, I could cross it out and just put in Coney Island / Brighton Beach because it doesn't stop at Coney
Right,
Island.
it's not, exactly.
All right, that's fine. I can definitely do that.
I thought we had talked about including it anyway,
Yeah,
Right,
okay.
because
No,
it
like I
goes
said,
in-
I have to get this in. Yes, I will put in Coney Island and Brighton Beach. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Selena. Anything else? Yelena,
I have nothing to say. It's popping up. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
stop touching stuff. We're all tired. Stop touching stuff.
Okay.
Anyone else? Michael Russo.
Eddie, why don't you just make it the community board 13? Because you have to also include Gravesend in that.
Right.
No, we can do it. I mean,
Just word it as community board 13.
no, okay. I'll put in Coney Island, Brighton Beach, Seagate, and Gravesend.
Entire district?
Yeah, but then you got to define it, so that's fine. I have no problem putting that in that part.
Thank you.
Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, so we're gonna vote based on with the amendments. Lucia, let's try to do this as quick as possible because we have two others. Lucia, did I lose you?
Yes, no, you did not.
Can you just call first names and then try to go through it quickly?
Okay, Lucy,
Yes.
Zanera,
Yes.
Lakeisha,
Okay.
Lakeisha?
No response, call them back in the second roll call, please.
Okay, Dion,
Yes.
Patricia, Mario,
Yes, Patricia, yes.
Mario,
Yes.
Marion,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Assad,
Yes.
Lalita,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Olga, Selena,
Yes. Yes.
Ronald,
Yes.
Irum Hanif, Amaryllis, Queenie,
Yes.
Doyen, Bernard,
I'm sorry, Queenie's not a vote. She's on the phone. Please pay attention, guys.
Yes.
Bernard,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Yes.
Elena,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Pat, O'Brien, Robin,
Yes.
Boris, Nodra,
Yes.
Milagros,
Yes.
Michael, Q,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Michael Russo,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Frank, Tatiana,
Yes.
Pervez, Michael Silverman,
Yes.
Pat Singer, Evelyn Strasser, Jack,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Fanya, Gregory, Edita, Dennis,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Annette,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
Kumali,
Yes. Yes.
Svetlana, Lakeisha Bowers,
She was shaking her head, yes. So, yes.
Yes, okay, we'll accept that. Olga Fort,
Yes.
She doesn't have a camera on. Now she does. Go
does.
ahead.
Thank you.
Irum, Amaryllis, Doyen, Pat O'Brien, Boris, Fran, oh, well, no, hold on. Pat Singer, Evelyn
I can-
Strasser, Fanya, Gregory, Edita, Svetlana.
I don't think these people came in within the last 30 seconds. So let's
did,
move on.
Okay.
Okay. If anyone needs an iPad, we have extras in the office that we can have you borrow. We offered it to Fran. She can't, she's not able to accept it for personal reasons. But if anyone needs an iPad, for whatever reason, we can lend you one until we have our meeting tomorrow and figure out what we're doing moving forward. Okay, so thank you. Communications and correspondence, Sam.
Good evening. We have two announcements tonight. Two announcements. Number one is the 10-year anniversary of Hurricane Sandy. It's going to be on Thursday, October 27th, 9 a.m. sharp at Fine Fair Supermarket, parking lot, 2901 Mermaid Avenue. The Fine Fair Supermarket, 2901 Mermaid Avenue, October 27th, Thursday at 9 a.m. And pretty much if you come, they're going to have, they're going to give out catch basins, business outreach, flood barrier giveaways, information tables, and also plant some trees along Mermaid Avenue. You'll bring the labor and they will give the tools and gloves. And number two is the 12th annual Children's Halloween Festival and Parade. It will be Saturday, October 29th, rain or shine, 1904 Surf Avenue. Registrations around 10:30 a.m. Activities from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Once again, Saturday, October 29th. And this one's going to be open for participants 14 years old and younger, pretty much. And the first 1,200 kids, they get a free wristband for Luna Park in Coney Island. So you're welcome. Once again, Saturday, October 29th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. But registration is at 10:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. A lot of Halloween events going on. Please, everyone, be safe with your children out there. Be cautious. Treasurer's report, Dion Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Tonight I will be reporting Community Board 13's Treasurer's Report for the first quarter from July 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2022. On July 1st, 2022, Community Board 13's starting operating budget totaled in the amount of $336,290. The total operating budget includes the following and is divided between: 1, rent, telephone, heat, and power, totaling $81,530. Please note this amount we do not touch. These expenses are paid directly through DCAS, Department of Citywide Administrative Services. Number 2, OTPS, other than personnel services, meaning office-related items totaling $26,444. Then we have payroll services, which consists of salaries for 4 staff members totaling $228,316. All of the mentioned categories total $336,290. Now, the total amount paid out beginning July 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2022 are from the following: OTPS office-related items, general office supplies, $70.34, food, $176.84, cleaning supplies, $128.90, telecommunications maintenance, $869.90. Cleaning services, monthly cleaning for office, $780. And professional services, $588. Now from payroll service, starting budget for the first quarter was $228,316. Payroll paid out from the first quarter totaling $41,122.14. This amount deducted from the starting payroll service budget of $228,316 leaves a balance of $187,193.86. After a careful review of all budget items, we are on budget and do not foresee any changes necessary at this time, leaving a closing balance, including rent and payroll services, in the amount of $268,605.15. And lastly, CB13 office thanks Council Member Ina Vernikov for allocating $1,000. This allocation is specifically for future parking fees when we meet in person for our general monthly meetings. Thank you all and be well.
Any questions on the report, board members? Okay, I want to chime in. I think Eddie mentioned this last month. We're looking at locations to move. We were fortunate enough to look at a few locations. We're still looking, so we will inform our treasurer as to the expenses that would occur if we move by the end of the FY year, which is June 30th, and hopefully we will. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Licensing committee.
Good evening, everybody. We had our meeting last Wednesday, a week ago. We had 2 applications for Nathan's Famous. Applications for a corporate change of ownership for 2 addresses. One is seasonal, 205 Boardwalk, and the other one all year round, 1302-1310 Surf Avenue. Applicants submitted their applications as well as stipulations for both locations. The community voted for it and it was approved. Any questions? Anyone has a question?
No hands.
Okay, so it's up to community board now for the full board to vote for it.
Did you mention both or did I blank out?
Yes, both, yes. It's
Okay.
205 Boardwalk in 1302-1310 Surf Avenue.
Okay, there being no questions, we will take
There
the
is a
vote.
question,
Malagos.
Madam
I'm
Chair.
sorry.
Yes, miss?
Who was it that was questioning?
Malagos.
Okay, we'll wait for her to unmute herself.
Yes.
Okay. I want to know what the license is for Nathan is. I didn't get it.
It's the same. They just changing. It's a liquor license. Everything stays the same. They just changing one name incorporation. They're removing one person and instead they're adding the other one. So there are no changes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna take them both. So if you vote yes for both, just say yes both when they call your name. If you vote for either one differently, please state which one you're voting differently, and we will move on. Any questions? Lucia, first names, let's do it quickly as possible.
Lucy,
Yes, both.
Zanera,
Yes. In Coney Island now,
Both?
sitting somewhere waiting.
Zanera, you have to say both.
It ain't over yet.
Yes, both.
Lakeisha Bowers. Okay, Dion,
Yes, both.
Patricia,
Yes, vote.
Mario,
Lakeisha, I'm gonna interrupt you for a minute. She's having trouble, but I see her face. Are you voting yes for both?
Yes.
But I
Oh,
need
oh,
somebody.
there you
to
go.
mute
We hear
me.
you now. We hear you now.
But,
We
but
can
I need
hear
you to
you.
mute me back. Somebody unmuted me. So I can't.
Okay, Mario,
Yes, for both.
Marion,
Yes, for both.
Joe,
Yes, for both.
Assad,
Yes, both.
Lolita,
Yes to both.
Susan,
Yes, for both.
Olga,
Yes to both.
Selena,
Yes to both.
Ronald,
Yes to both.
Hirum, Amaryllis, Joanne, Queenie, Bernard,
Yes, for both.
Cynthia,
Yes to both.
Elena,
Yes, for both.
don't see you. I don't see Elena. Elena, show us your, okay. I can't hear you now.
She did say yes to both and she had her
Okay.
camera.
Okay, Alan,
Yes to both.
okay. Pat, Robin,
Yes to both.
Boris, Nodra,
Yes to both.
Milagros,
Yes to both.
Michael Q,
Yes to both.
Sam,
Yes to both.
Michael R, Michael Russo, Jeff,
Yes to both.
Tatiana Siegel,
Yes to both.
Pervez, Michael Silverman,
Yes to both.
Pat Singer, Evelyn, Jack,
Yes to both.
Barbara,
Yes to both.
Fanya, Gregory, Editha, Dennis,
Yes to both.
Gloria,
Yes to both.
Joanne,
Yes to both.
Annette,
Yes to both.
David,
Yes to both.
So.
Kumali,
Yes to both.
Svetlana. Okay. Should I repeat the people, another roll call?
No, we're gonna move on. And
Okay.
no need to repeat people that weren't here for the last one. They didn't show up for 5 minutes ago. So
Okay,
we
making
can move
sure.
on. But
Okay,
I know you are, but I doubt it. And if they are, they can raise their hand. So I'm gonna change the agenda for a minute because I'm gonna bring Parks at the end because I want to make a motion to draft the letter regarding the RFP, and then that will be our exiting. So, old business,
Yes, I got old business, Chair.
go ahead, sir.
Okay. Back in July of 2022, Governor Hochul initiated a launch for the first statewide mobile air monitoring initiative. However, we did write a letter to the governor, and I'm sure everybody got it because it was on Facebook and in our newsletter, that we were not included. By we, I mean Coney Island, Brighton Beach, Gravesend, Seagate, and we are in a disadvantage or environmental justice area, and I think that we should have been included in it. I had a discussion with the DEC Region 2 Director, Patrick Foster, and he said we didn't meet the criteria, which, I highly disagree. However, everything is not lost. I'm in contact with a environmental attorney, Joel Kufferman, who is in the New York Environmental Law and Justice Project. And he is doing air quality studies too with another company. So I'm trying to get him to do a presentation in the future and probably get volunteers to have their air monitored from either their balconies or other areas that he will be able to do this study. So just keep on notice, and I will address this when it comes to fruition. Thank you.
Any other old business? Any new business? Any good in welfare? Milagros, you have something, or you just unmuting yourself?
Me, no.
Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the Parks Committee. Barbara, do you want to recap again, or is everyone
Well, I
okay?
said everything before that, basically we said at the meeting, unless Sue, you want to add anything?
No, I think everything was said. The biggest issue is the problem that we have with the RFP and the illegal vendors.
I would like to say something about the RFP though. The positive part of it is anybody can apply now, including someone who has, let's say, a restaurant in Brighton that might want to be in another place with a little cart. That is something that they said that can be done now, which I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah, but that was before. That hasn't changed.
No, but people did not seem to be aware, Joe, that even they could apply.
Okay, anyone else? All right, so I would like to have a discussion on this. So as you guys saw how adamant I was about the boardwalk, I am tired of the dirt. I'm tired of everything else up there. Tired of the 42nd Street coming down here and possibly a casino. So it's going to be even worse. And then you have all these carts. You have everyone walking around. I don't think I need to vent anymore. I think everyone knows where I'm going. So I'd like to make a motion to write a letter to Parks Department saying we don't want these mobile carts here. And that's the end of my sentence because you guys know my emotions on this. Well, I get a second on it.
You got it.
Is there a motion? Is there a discussion on mine and Joanne's motion? Okay, so Lucia will make a roll call. Lucia will do a roll call, and this will be your exiting, Lucia, just so you know, we do it backwards. Because we try to give people a little bit of break here. I want to thank each of you. I apologize for the length of this meeting. And those that are attending the executive meeting tomorrow, please rest assured that it will be a 1 hour meeting only. Michael Silverman, yes.
Can you just repeat what the motion is?
The motion on the table is to write a letter to the Parks Department, thank you, but no thank you. We don't want these mobile carts on the boardwalk.
Lucy, do you think we could add something to the motion saying that we don't want them because of the tremendous problem we had with illegal vendors, and we'd like you to address that first?
I think everyone's clear on what the letter is going to say. Michael Silverman?
Can I just double check? So the committee itself did not propose a motion?
No, I made a motion today.
But the committee did not?
No,
You did
no,
not,
sir.
Michael. No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Michael.
Michael Russo.
Yeah, Lucy, I agree with you with the.
Me too.
I agree with you with the motion. The only thing I disagree with is there are some areas of the boardwalk that have no vending. There's no way to get food or beach chairs or whatever. So, maybe the positioning of the carts would be different, but as far as like West 32nd Street, I don't know if they opened up a food stand in Kazimierzy's building.
He did.
Well, then my apologies, but the positioning of it, I disagree with it. But I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to vote against it.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Yelena, you're the last one because we're gonna move on.
Okay, before we move on, the same proposals, the same location were part of proposal before. And I do not see anyone answering for West 42nd, because according to Park Department, 6 years ago, it's not money-making location. But if we are talking about West 32nd and all other locations like West 19th, before I agree with Lucy, before we talk about opportunity, let's talk about the condition of our boardwalk. And we were giving weight, the maximum weight of the car. And I do not expect anybody answering RFP, paying money for a permit and selling coffee there. So I would expect gyra or shish kebab, and car is very heavy. So I agree with Lucy. Thank you.
They're not even giving funding for extra people to be up there cleaning. I mean, and I get the point that it's 4 mobile carts. I get it. And that's what they're saying. We need to start somewhere. But you know what? Get rid of 4 and then you could bring me 4. That's just my opinion. And I'm asking this board to vote on a letter with our concerns.
Okay.
So perhaps
I'm not going any further with this. I think the discussion was already discussed. I think that the topic was already discussed. It was discussed when the commissioner was here. Let's not repeat ourselves. Unless you have something brand new to say, then raise your hand. If not, I'm moving on. Nothing new, Yelena, nothing, Michael. Roll call, Lucia, call it backwards.
Lucy, just a second. The opportunity for the illegal vendors on the boardwalk to become legalized is exactly what this RFP is for. I remember speaking to the borough president, and he said, we need to come up with a solution on all this illegal vending. And his idea or his brainstorm was, maybe we should legalize some of the carts. And I agreed with him at that point, because his notion, and based on what Parks told him, was that we should put them away from the amusement district, where there are areas of the boardwalk that are underserved by vendors and storefronts. You know how I feel about the illegal vending, but in order to satisfy some of the illegal vendors, give them an opportunity to become legal and operate somewhere where it's approved, instead of in front of a business that's paying thousands of dollars of money, thousands of dollars each month for rent. So that was the only thing. I mean, we have to give
I thought I heard you say that this didn't work.
It did not.
Okay, I just
did not work.
I know I'm tired, but I thought I heard you say that.
Yeah, no, it did not work, but it's just a solution that the authorities thought that might work in terms of tackling the illegal vending. All right, let's legalize some of them. And that's what their idea was.
And with that being said, it's called a mobile cart. So mobile moves around. So they're gonna tell you we got Dennis on West 8th Street, but Dennis is gonna start mobiling down.
Not permitted. They have to stay one spot.
And who's gonna stop them?
The same people that are enforcing the illegal vending.
Nobody.
Okay, the discussion.
Nobody.
You have the right to discuss. You have the right to have your say.
Right.
And now we're gonna go with a vote backwards. If you would like a letter to be written to them, if you would not like it, vote no. And I don't know, Michael Silverman, help me with this. The people that have businesses on the boardwalk, should they recuse themselves? But no, because it's not personal benefit to them, correct? I just want to be that they don't,
Let's go.
That's a good question. My first answer is going to be that it is not necessarily affecting them. They're not deriving anything from this. They're not part of it. So that would be the test that I would use.
Okay.
Thank you. That's it. Move on, Lucia. Let's go.
Okay, Kumali,
Yes.
David,
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Annette,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes, good night, everybody.
Good night. Gloria,
Yes, good night, everybody.
Dennis,
I'm gonna abstain.
Editha, Gregory, no, Barbara,
She's trying to unmute herself, so move
I
on.
understand. Okay. Jax,
Yes.
Evelyn, Pat Singer, Michael Silverman,
Yes.
Tatiana Siegel,
Yes, yes, good night.
Jeff,
Yes.
Michael Russo,
I'm gonna abstain also. Good night, everyone.
Sam.
saying good night. Good night,
Good
Fran.
night, Fran.
Sam, Michael Quinn,
Yes, good night. Thank you.
Milagros,
Abstain?
Nodra,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes, good night.
Alan,
Abstention. Good night, everyone.
Elena,
Yes.
Cynthia,
Abstain. Good night, everyone.
Bernard,
Yes, good night.
Ronald,
Yes, and happy and safe Halloween to all. Good night.
Don't forget to wear your
Selena.
costume.
Selena,
Good night, everyone.
Olga,
Yes, have a good night.
Susan,
Yes.
Lolita,
Yes, good night.
Assad,
Abstain. Good night.
Joe,
Yes, and good night.
Marion,
Yes, and good night.
Mario, Mario,
He's not here. Oh, yeah, he is. I'm sorry. Yes, he is. You want to shake your head? Yes, no? Oh,
Yes, you hear me?
yes.
yes, we do. Patricia,
Yes, good night.
Dion,
Yes, good night, all.
Lakeisha.
Yes, no?
I don't see her.
She
at
shook
all.
her head and she said yes.
Okay, Zonera,
Abstain. Good night.
and Barbara.
Yes.
And you have Shimon too.
And Lucy.
Sam,
Sam,
Yes, good night. Yes, good night. Yes.
Okay, and my call is yes.
yes, okay.
So if anyone's
call
on here that
Queenie?
she cannot call you because you cannot vote because you do not have a camera.
Thank you.
And if you need an iPad, please call the office. We have a few to lend people.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, well, everyone have a great evening. Those hopefully I'll see some people tomorrow and we'll move on. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Good night, all.
Good night. Night.
Lucia, stay on for a minute. I want to ask you, I missed something.
Okay.
I'm going to, you text each other because I'm going to log off.
We can't,
No.
if you log off, we log off, yeah?
Yeah.
I got it. Thank you, Eddie.